or when there's a gap, you know, between what some of us think should be done and what those who are actually there are doing, I think that's where the problem is. We know what should be done. We think we understand how we should go about doing some of those things, but there seems to be a gap, and that's where I think the problem is. You know, we can sit down here and say, oh, since we left London, we should be preparing for 2016. But in most cases, that wasn't the reality. You know, and for me, I think it's always a big problem when all of these things come to light, when there's a major sporting event on the horizon, then you begin to hear all of this. I think now we need to call into question what has happened in the last 3 years. You know, all the associations. Okay, what have you been doing since then? And what are the challenges?
In fairness, the associations, they've been creating programs. They have excellent programs.
And apart from that, in fairness to some of these associations, they've gone for a lot of qualifying tournaments.
Very true.
They have a lot of athletes who have qualified.
Very true.
And in that case, you can exonerate those.
Yes, but the question really is, we have to be really creative about how we fund our associations. When the new minister was appointed, what I expected him to come out and say that, look, as far as sports is concerned, this is our agenda. First, to look for creative, non-governmental ways of funding the associations so that we will not have this problem in the future. Secondly, we will invest tremendously in coaching, because the quality of the athletes that we are even presenting has been called into question. And how do we talk about talent? Talent is nothing unless you have coaches to polish it. A diamond is worthless. It's just a worthless piece of carbon until you have a master craftsman who is going to make it into a diamond. And that is.
So what is the challenge now for the new? You know, the new sports minister just came in a few months ago.
Can't leave the problems on the doorstep.
And we cannot say is responsible for all the problems that we have in terms of funding now.
But he's responsible for looking for solutions.
A new government is just in place. Yeah, he has to look for solutions now.
Exactly.
Because we are less than a year to the Olympic Games, and we have to be adequately prepared.
So in the books of Nigeria, in Nigeria financial books, there is a clause that has always been there that if you pay a certain amount of money, invest in a certain amount of sport, you are entitled to so and so tax rebates. Have you consistently or effectively pursued this particular avenue? It's been there for donkey years, but nobody has really done anything about it. It's there in black and white in the Nigerian books. If you say, okay, X and X company, they will take up the funding of badminton, we receive so and so rebate on our taxes. No, but it's not a crime. But the NSC has not. So that's why I'm saying we have to look for creative ways of funding our associations.
I think that is
taking the burden of government, because you and I know that government is
government alone
severely stressed right now. Revenues are shrinking.
That's the reality. I mean, you have just hit it on the nail. That is the reality. All our sports funding comes from government. 90% of the funding comes from government. Even more than 90% comes from government. The corporate world have not really woken up to the possibilities that we have in sports. And I think that is a challenge for this administration. That is a challenge for the new sports minister to find a creative way of getting funds outside of government so that wrestlers who are supposed to go to Brazil and can't go because of funds, shooters who are supposed to go for an international competition but can't go because of funding, tennis players who can't go, all those things will become issues of the past. Let me tell you about what we'll discuss on the program tomorrow. National Sports Festival 2014. This is 2015, end of 2015, not a word on what the future is for the National Sports Festival, where it was all about Paradise Games 2014. The Paradise Games 2014 didn't happen.
There are no games in Paradise
This is the end of 2015. And I'm not even sure that there's any Paradise for the games anymore. All right, but we'll talk about that tomorrow, because we need to still do a few more research as to what the future is for the National Sports Commission. And all of this comes down to funding. And I think if this present government is serious about empowering the youth using sports, that's one knotty issue that we have to sort, and sort quickly. We must. All right, let's move away from the lack of funds and talk about those who are moving around and maybe have some cash to burn as well. FIFA elections.
Yep.
Guys, surprise. Well, I was...
huge surprise.
Huge surprise. I was privileged today, just a few hours ago, to just walk into a meeting, a private meeting it was supposed to be, between one of the leading candidates for the FIFA presidential elections and the president of the Nigerian Football Federation. I'm talking about the prince from Jordan, Prince Ali bin Al Hussein, came, I mean, he called it a private visit to the NFF president, but I know there's nothing private. I know what the private visit is all about. But he came in, and I had a chance of catching a bit of that meeting. And let me start with a good one. Prince Hussein says is really encouraged with what Amaju Pinnick has done for our football in terms of building capacity. But I know that there's more to it. The elections are coming. But on a more serious note, it says that's the future.
Yeah.
Building the capacity of administrators, of those who are involved in the game, that's the future. And that we developing nation, Jordan, as to him, also is a developing sports nation. We need to tap from those who are developed, so that we can also learn a few tricks from them. And he says that's what he intends to achieve, carry everybody along, and really help with the development of football if he becomes FIFA president. That was the bit that they told us.
Okay.
Well, I think it's interesting.
But I'm happy. It looks like Amaju is getting some influence.
Yeah, well, he's getting recognition because we keep saying how the world is a global village and everything you think you do in your own small corner of the world.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. The fact that Prince Hussein highlighted the fact that he's carried out capacity building in Nigeria means that what we thought was no news is actually big news.
A prophet is without honor.
Without honor in his own.
The guy that we attack here, they probably love him for what he's doing.
But then also the fact that there's upcoming FIFA elections, Prince Hussein is pressing the flesh, courting them.
In Senegal,
courting all those people
came to Nigeria,
who can back his bid. He also has very interesting plans for FIFA as well. He's saying that at least the vast majority of FIFA's $2 billion annual revenue will go back to the associations. He's also planning to ensure that the developing nations have a greater say in world affairs, in global football affairs as well. He's also planning to cut down the imperial powers of the FIFA president as well. All of these are lofty ideas, which a lot of people tend to identify with. But the fact that he came all the way from, I mean, let's be clear, this man is royalty. He's a prince. He's the brother of Prince Abdullah, one of the Prince Abdullah of Jordan, one of the most respected, most prestigious royal families in the Middle East. He can decide not to come and send an emissary, but he came himself, which means that he finds people like Pinnick Amaju influential and capable of helping his ambition. So when you begin to receive that kind of international recognition, that means you're doing something right. Maybe not everything right, but something right. And kudos to plenty of plaudits must go to Pinnick Amaju. Yeah. I hope that this will only serve to spur him on when he's receiving this kind of commendation from international football figures.
But nobody will ignore a block that has over 50 votes. And
54.
54. So I'm just thinking out loud. He probably said the same thing in Senegal where he went to. But it just shows now that
he's the president of the Senegal FC doing capacity building as well.
I don't know. but what I'm just saying is that it just shows now that the powers that be recognize that, look, you have to carry people along. Other people to have a role to play, and especially with the new changes coming in FIFA, you need to cut people. And when you cut them, you need to give them something to bite. You don't just. I mean, so I think all the reforms that Prince Ali has been talking about is workable. It is my personal opinion here. It is someone that I feel, given a chance, could bring the change. Whether or not he's going to get there is another thing.
Talk to us about Platini. Tomorrow is a very crucial day. I mean, in the FIFA elections, all about Platini and the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
By 9 a.m. tomorrow, he'll know if CAS will upturn the 90-day ban.
That's the first step.
Yes, because if that is upturned, then the guys at FIFA will now, okay, let's sit down and look at it if we can.
And now has a good chance. If there's now ray of hope.
It's a ray of hope, but it's not the end.